Welcome to Roaring Fork Wellness Weekly Podcast, where we strive to bring you options and resources to live a healthy and fulfilling lifestyle in the Roaring Fork Valley and surrounding areas. I'm Kimberly Henry. You can learn more about Roaring Fork Wellness at www.rfwellness.com. Now, this episode of Roaring Fork Wellness Weekly is brought to you by our friends at Glenwood Moms for Moms. It's a social network for local moms providing connection, information, support, and inspiration. Join for free today and spread the word to all your mom friends, from pregnancy to grandmotherhood. It's at www.glenwoodmomsformoms.com. I also want to mention, before we dive into our topic of conversation today, the 4th Annual Health and Wellness Expo is coming up on Saturday, April 25th, and you can find the details about that at rfwellness.com as well. That'll be held at the Ramada Inn in Glenwood Springs with exhibitors, products and services, seminars, and workshops. So mark your calendar and plan to join us at the 4th Annual Health and Wellness Expo on Saturday, April 25th. And now I'm pleased to welcome my friend and guest, Laura Barton with Reconnective Therapies of Western Colorado. Laura, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on here. We're going to be talking a little bit about what you do and how it works and all of that. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to have Reconnective Therapies in Western Colorado?
Well, basically, I experienced a sample session of Reconnective Healing in 2012 and was really impressed with the differences it offered, and then took some seminars in Phoenix that same year. I moved from the Pacific Northwest to Colorado in late 2013 and up into this area last August.
And so you decided to stick around with us, huh?
Yeah, I like it here. This part of Colorado really reminds me of northeastern Oregon, where I grew up and was living for many years.
Are you based in Glenwood Springs?
Yes, I am. I also work on occasion in Grand Junction, but more often in Glenwood Springs.
Okay, so tell us what you do. Reconnective Healing, that is something I hadn't heard about until I met you. What is it?
Well, Reconnective Healing is a form of complementary and alternative medicine that was brought to the forefront in the early 90s by a chiropractor in Los Angeles by the name of Eric Pearl. His patients had begun to experience healing during his sessions that were more than what they expected, even if he wasn't touching them, and he really didn't know how to explain it. He did a lot of research, read books, consulted people, participated in studies worldwide, and it was determined that he was able to access vibrational frequencies, light, and information coming through the atmosphere that hadn't been able to come through before due to the shift in the Earth's magnetic poles. What it is basically is through intention, a practitioner can direct non-local consciousness in person or at a distance to achieve a healing effect through the exchange from one individual to another. It doesn't matter whether the recipient is a person, an animal, or even a plant.
What? Did you just...
Well, it's a form of it's a group of techniques that improve physical health and promotes balanced emotional and mental states.
And you said plant, so
yeah. Well,
that threw me off. That's not something that we typically talk about as a patient or a client.
I understand, but I'm a gardener, and I sometimes have had problems with my house plants, and I've noticed that just out of curiosity, I decided to see if it would work, and I noticed that my plants actually improved at one point where, I was going to pitch them.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was really something, and working on animals has been a lot of fun as well.
Oh, how fun. So you call it Reconnective Healing. What are you reconnecting? What's the connection?
Well, basically, we were all designed to be connected into not just the grid of our body through acupuncture lines that people are familiar with, meridians and so forth, but into the planetary grid and even actually out into the universal grid. And at some point over eons, we became disconnected with that. So these energies coming through, you're going to access the energy, vibration, light, and information and direct it into another being and get them reconnected, in a sense, into that to promote healing on a number of different levels.
So kind of plugging back into the network, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds similar to some other things that are out there. How do you define it differently than mind-body medicine?
Well, mind-body medicine is when the mind of a person affects his or her own body, whereas in this, the mind of the practitioner, through intention, can direct these frequencies to achieve a healing effect.
So it has to do with frequencies as opposed to just working within oneself.
Exactly. I'm basically accessing energy, light, and frequencies and directing them non-discriminately into another living being. Again, whether that's a person, an animal, or a plant even.
So it sounds like energy healing, like Reiki or other types of energy healing. How is it differentiated?
The light.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of different ways that universal energy can be accessed, but not with that third component of the light. And there was a German scientist in the 70s that saw that he was studying cancer, and he saw that cells responded to light, and that's what makes this different.
Okay.
I've worked on a number of Reiki practitioners and practitioners of other modalities, and they've all stated that it has a different feel to it, and a number of them have seemed to have commented that it seems more inclusive. And that's what I experienced myself back in 2012, and why I chose to do that and do this Reconnective Healing instead of training in something else.
Okay. I want to get into the nuts and bolts of, what exactly it is and how it works. But what's the scientific research on something like this?
Well, it's been researched like crazy since the mid-'90s when he brought it to the forefront. The Human Energy Systems Lab at the University of Arizona has spent a lot of time on it. There's a number of authors, scientists worldwide that have studied it. Dr. Oz has interviewed Dr. Pearl, for example, on more than one occasion, and people can access the interviews online or see examples of Dr. Pearl's work on YouTube. He's presented to the UN, institutions like Jackson Memorial Hospital, UCLA, the VA Hospital, and University of Minnesota have all studied and or reviewed studies on this type of work.
And what are they finding? What are the results of these studies?
Well, they're finding that it interacts in a more comprehensive way than some of the other components to this work by themselves. And that's basically what sets it apart.
Okay, so it as a alternative to perhaps a Reiki session, it's showing that it's more beneficial. Is that what I'm hearing?
It can be considered more inclusive.
More inclusive, okay.
Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of times people ask me how many sessions it takes. Well, it depends on the person. It can be one session or they can go into a series. It depends on where the frequencies go and what they need to affect.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into that. What is a session like? What do you do?
Well, when a person comes into the office, typically we spend a few minutes talking, and I hand them an intake form so they can provide their contact information and note any concerns they'd like specific attention on. I keep the environment typically scent-free, use white noise. They can keep their jewelry on, cell phones, wallets, of course, as long as the cell phone is muted. I have them lie on a massage table with their arms along their sides and just ask them to close their eyes and rest, paying attention to anything that they might feel, see, hear, or even smell. I stand at their head, placing my hands on either side and moving my hands in a small, tight, circular motion, going down along the right side of the body. Then I come back up to the head, and then I do the same process down the left side of the body. After I'm done, I allow the person to rest for another 10 minutes or so, whatever they're comfortable with, and then they gently say their name, letting them know the session's been completed. A lot of times folks will fall asleep.
Mm. Yeah, sounds like nap time to me.
Yeah.
I'll take it. So what kinds of clients or patients do you have? What do people come to Reconnective Healing for?
Well, it's about as different as people are. I mean, I've worked on a lot of different people with a number of different complaints. One person that I worked with wrote a testimonial for me. His legs had turned almost black. And when I worked on him, a few weeks later, the black in his legs had faded away till it could barely be noticed.
Mm.
He said that the doctors were interested in taking the legs from the knees down because he wasn't getting any blood flow there. But after the work that we did, circulation was restored, and they no longer had to look at that as an option to return him to health.
So he didn't, I mean, it sounds like he was close to amputation and didn't have to
He
go
was.
through that process.
Exactly.
Wow, that's impressive.
It was really something. I hadn't worked on that sort of a condition before. I've worked on a lot of people with emotional matters. One of my recent clients, she wrote a testimonial for me stating that she had an illness in the family and the passing of her mother. When she returned to the area, she wasn't able to sleep well at night with thoughts, regrets, and grief.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked on her, she felt calm and was able to get back to living life. She states that the torture in her mind was gone, that it was amazing and such a relief, and the continual benefit to the healing was that the arthritic pain she was feeling in her thumbs was gone. She states that it was very relaxing and comfortable with both her husband and herself, and that she would be interested in having more therapy sessions with me.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
you know, it runs the gamut. It just depends on, you know, how a person finds out about me or I find out about a person, so to speak.
mm-hmm. What is this like for you as the therapist? It seems like it would be a very draining process.
Not really. It's not my energy or myself that I'm using. I'm just accessing the energies or frequencies and directing them, so it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I'm doing it, I go into what I call the zone.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Pearl calls it the gap. But either way, it's just like a space where I just seem to be. I find that when I'm working on people, quite often I'll develop kind of sweaty. And there's been some times where I've shed a tear on occasion. Often my hands will tingle, and sometimes my whole body. Mm-hmm. I actually prefer not to know what's off balance with someone and let the work just flow on its own. But at the end of the session, if I know someone has something specific like a complaint in a knee or an ankle, then I certainly want to go back and target that for them.
Mm-hmm. Do you get any sense of, if someone doesn't tell you what's going on, do you get any sense of what it is?
Oh, sure.
While you're doing that?
Sure. And, you know, really I'd rather not know because, like the lady that I just described with the emotional issues, mm-hmm. I had no idea that she had arthritic pain in her thumbs. Mm-hmm. And if I was working just on her emotional, then perhaps the frequencies wouldn't have affected the thumbs.
I see. I see. So you get out of your own way, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The less I know, actually, the more comfortable I am with it. Because I don't want to miss anything, and I'm not the one in control of this. I'm just accessing and directing and letting it do what it does.
Awesome. Where do you do your work?
I share an office space up above Treads with Carmen Icino here in town. I also have a portable table. If someone's incapacitated and we can control the environment, I don't have a problem going to their home. In addition, since I moved to Colorado especially, I've done a lot of distance work with people up in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay. And how many sessions? I mean, you alluded earlier that it really varies, but if somebody were to plan on seeing you, what should they plan for as far as number of visits?
Well, sometimes for severe cases, 3 sessions bring about pronounced results. Mm-hmm. If they need to go more than that, then I'm certainly happy to, but it just depends on the person. Mm-hmm. So I don't dictate that one way or the other. I suggest that they could go up to 3 sessions or more if they chose to, but typically I see results. They see results in just a few. Okay. Quite often, the first session brings about a great deal of recovery.
What does a service like this cost? Well,
initially, sessions are $100. Right now, I'm introducing it at $80 a session, and I have a coupon available for use during the first 2 weeks of March this month, and then again the first 2 weeks of April, which reduces the session fee by $20, so $60.
Wow.
You can download the mobile coupon from the App Store and Google Play. It's also on the healersofthevalley.com site, and it's free to use. So I'm just getting set up to take credit cards as well, and that's typically how I handle the fees for distance work.
So you just go to like the Google store and search for Reconnective Therapy? How does that work?
Well, I just got it set up yesterday, actually, because I've been out of town. And I'm a member of both Roaring Fork Wellness and Healers of the Valley down in Junction. Uh-huh. And so I was told that you can access it through Google Play or the App Store, but it's also on the healersofthevalley.com site.
Interesting.
So you can use it that way, too.
Okay. So any other thoughts you want to share with us before we wrap things up?
Well, I have a website under construction, but a person can always go to thereconnection.com for more information. If someone is interested in talking with me, feel free to give me a call. I'm more than happy to talk with a person over the phone, get together for coffee. I've emailed information, and I have testimonials available. So, basically whatever works.
Okay. And can you give us your phone number and email address?
Sure. My phone number is 970-519-1683, and my email address is ldb333@ymail.com. That's just the letter Y.
Awesome. I will put that information in our notes as well. So if you're listening to this on Spreaker, you should be able to access the phone number and the email for Laura, as well as some other information there that she provided. So it's been my pleasure talking with you and getting to know more about Reconnective Healing. And I hope that you'll have some folks call and get more information about their specific needs. And I look forward to seeing you at the Health and Wellness Expo in a few weeks.
I'm excited about that and enjoyed to be there.
Laura, thanks so much.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks for tuning in to Roaring Fork Wellness Weekly. Find us on the web at www.rfwellness.com and join us again next week on Roaring Fork Wellness Weekly. Have a great week.